Ciao a tutti e benvenuti all'8º episodio di Aperitivo in inglese. Durante questo episodio avremo un ospite molto speciale. Io sono una nuova fatta, sono Sara e faccio parte del team di Wordbridge e sarò con voi d'ora in avanti. Parteciperà anche il nostro amico Sam, ovviamente, e parleremo di qualcosa che è stato nelle nostre case per tantissimo tempo, ha un fan base molto attivo e le persone l'hanno amato. Sapete già di che cosa parliamo perché l'abbiamo visto nel post, ma ne parleremo meglio insieme al nostro Sam. Sam, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Oh, I'm really
Welcome.
good. Really good. Thank you.
First of all, let me say welcome after all of this help that you gave us backstage. It's really good to have you on the stage.
I won't be commenting anymore. I had tons of fun commenting.
We're always going to need your comments back, obviously. Like for me, like one of the funnest part of this aperitivo in English was your comments.
Comments.
It was amazing. I really loved it. Okay, let me say hi to our viewers. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Aperitivo in English. Today, we and Sarah, we're going to talk about some other very interesting topic. Which will actually help you over learning English. So, shall we start? Sarah, how about you start? I want you to start today.
Yeah, we will talk about one TV series in particular, and we will have a guest here with us talking about it. And we will talk about it because we think that the best way, one of the best way to like learn English is watching TV series.
Obviously, yes.
And this one in particular has tons of accents.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to understand. I mean, to me, it was really hard to understand.
Exactly. And, yeah. That is very true. Basically, because I think the accent about any kind of movies or any kind of TV shows is really effective over learning that language or even understanding that TV show or that movie. The harder the accent is, the harder for you to understand it. So let's actually go through it. I want to talk about like more through this stuff with our guests. Shall we introduce our guests to come up to our lovely session today?
Yeah, Greg.
Hi guys.
How are you?
Hi, Greg. Hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Thank you.
Likewise here. Okay, so Greg, basically me and Sarah actually we were talking about the effectiveness of any TV show on learning English, and also depending on the accent, on the punctuation, the word choices, and everything, but all inclusive in a TV show. So, what do you think before we go through it? What do you think about this matter? Like, what's your opinion about learning English out of TV shows?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I've always thought that one of the best ways of learning a language, whatever language it is, but especially English, is to immerse yourselves in that culture.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, the ideal way of doing that is going and living there for a bit, but practically most of us can't do that. So really the best way of getting that is by either listening to the music or by watching TV series and things like that. Being able to watch TV series really gives you the opportunity to see what life is like, to hear the different accents.
Did you watch any Italian TV show to learn Italian? Because he talks perfect Italian. And did you watch any Italian?
I really struggled to find good Italian programs. And the reason is, and I didn't realize this until I lived in Italy for a bit, but that lots of Italian shows are dubbed over with the audio. So there aren't many famous shows that, you know, by Italian actors, but instead they'll take English shows like, you know, popular series, and then redo the audio on top of that. So I found it really difficult to kind of to experience that more authentic side. But I guess when you're learning English, I think one of the best ways to do that is to watch TV shows, because there are so many of them out there. And with the internet and Netflix and all that, you can get a load of them. They're really easily available, aren't they?
Okay. All right. So basically, we have chosen a TV show, and I can guarantee it's been popular since couple of years, like 8-9 years ago.
Ooh.
People love it. For me, particularly, I haven't seen it, but I don't know if I want to see it
How
or not.
come? Like everybody saw it. How come you've never seen it?
Apparently, it's like a crime if you haven't seen that show these days. Okay.
I saw it. I didn't follow it. I saw like the first episode, or maybe 2 or 3, but I didn't like it. Don't shoot me, please. I didn't like it, but
my team of Sarah, actually. All right, so let's give it like a basic introduction to our TV show, which goes like this song, so everybody can know what movie, the TV show is this.
I love this song. I love this song.
All right, so by now I think everybody knows what show we're talking about. So obviously Game of Thrones. As I say again, I haven't seen the show and I don't know if I'm going to watch the show because I never got hooked to the show.
We'll see it together.
Same as Sarah did. I actually watched a couple of episodes from the beginning, and I don't know, maybe it was the very long gap between each season, or like I honestly I couldn't get hooked to the show. You know, like usually the first couple of episodes will hook you up to the show and just like get through it. So hopefully on the next episodes we'll definitely talk about other TV shows. But today it's mainly about Game of Thrones. So Greg, your idea about Game of Thrones?
Well, I absolutely love it. It is one of my all-time favorite series. I didn't actually start watching it until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And this was after the 5th or 6th season. And all my friends were talking about it. When I was at university, everyone was all the time, Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
It was like, you have to know about Game of Thrones. And I remember I sat down one summer and I was like, right, this is the summer that I'm going to watch it. And so I watched those 5 or 6 seasons that were out then. And there were a few more seasons after that, which I kept up with. But I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the most fascinating, fun, so much action, so much drama. I think it's got everything you could possibly want. So I love it.
That is true. One thing, have you finished the whole TV show or not yet?
Yeah, yes, I have. So spoil it if you need to.
There won't be any spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers at all, guys. Just for viewers like me and Sarah who maybe watch it one day. Like, so basically, one question, Go: would you watch the whole show again?
Ooh, that's a great one. I think the answer is yes. Because I think for 2 reasons, really. The first reason, from a language point of view, is every time you watch it, you pick up something new. There's always something more to learn. Maybe it's a word you didn't understand, or maybe a word has a double meaning that you didn't quite understand the first time round. So I definitely think watching it a second time, or even a third or a fourth time, will really help you to pick up on those little things, just understand those things that you might not have understood the first time. But also in terms of, when I watched the season, when I watched it for the first time, it was 3 or 4 years ago. But for people that started from the beginning, that'll be maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, and they just won't remember the things from the very start. So I think being able to watch it again is a great way to remind yourselves of all those things that you loved at the start and kind of relive those memories. So for those kind of 2 reasons, I think it's a great thing to be able to rewatch it again. And it's so easy to do these days.
Okay, perfect.
Do you think it's better to watch it with subtitles?
Ooh. It depends, to be honest. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to watching it with the subtitles and without the subtitles. I think with the subtitles, particularly if you're kind of beginner or intermediate, it might help you to understand more vocabulary and understand kind of the gist or, the plot about what's going on.
Yeah, of course.
But if you watch it without subtitles, it kind of forces you to concentrate more. And really the most important thing is that you understand what's happening. You don't have to understand every single word. I think the most
There's a lot of
important thing.
action, and
Exactly.
too much blood. Like to me,
Yeah.
there's
No,
too
that
much
is true.
blood.
Yeah.
That's too gross.
I've
It's
definitely
definitely
found
R-rated. The whole TV show is definitely R-rated. Yeah, I heard a lot of things about that show. So anyway, let's get through the accent wise. How effective is that? About just Game of Thrones. How does it affect your path into learning English?
Yeah.
Very hard accent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it adds a new dimension to the show, which many people might not understand, particularly if you're not kind of native English. So you risk kind of missing out in that. And we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, when we talk about character-specific accents. But some characters use certain accents to maybe make themselves seem more posh or more royal, whereas other characters use certain accents, you know, to make them seem a bit more down to earth, a bit rougher, a bit, you know, like a normal person.
I know that all the women here wants to know about Jon Snow.
Who doesn't love Jon Snow?
Let's start from there, because I love him, even though I've never really got into like a TV show. But please start from him.
I think we all love Jon Snow.
Before you start, can I ask you something? Before
of course.
Who is Jon Snow?
Who is Jon Snow?
Oh,
So,
no, I'm joking.
Snow.
I know Jon Snow, really.
Well, there's no simple answer, but Jon Snow is kind of one of the main characters. Shame on you, Sam. Shame on you for not knowing who he is.
Shame on you.
But no, the accents.
I love the guys in the backstage. Love me so much. Shame on you.
The accents are really important, actually, especially when you're learning a language, because it does really reflect what you hear in everyday society. You know, people don't talk. You know, everyone has a different way of talking, and actually, I think Jon Snow is a great way of is a great example of that. Actually, Jon Snow has what we call in English a northern accent. So not necessarily from any place in the north, like from Manchester, where I'm from, but just a kind of a general northern accent. So you know he's not from the south or from London, and that kind of makes it seem perhaps in a bit of a stereotype, but it makes him seem a bit certainly less posh, a bit kind of rough, and I'm trying to think what the word is, but certainly not posh. You know, he's a kind of a bit violent, a little bit rough.
Okay.
But very interestingly, he has a slightly different accent in English to the rest of his family. And that's because you find out in the first episode, he actually doesn't belong to that family. He's from someone else. He's from a different family. So actually, it's a very small way of showing that right from the start, he's different. And that's something that you might not be able to.
Do you think that was intentional, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things that it's a choice they make deliberately, but actually it's really difficult, you know, if you're not a native speaker, to understand. But actually the important thing is to expose yourself to all those different accents. You know, even if you don't understand that little bit behind it, the important thing is that you try and see all these different accents and gain exposure to them, so that when hopefully you'll speak to a native English speaker, someone in Britain, you'll be able to understand them more easily. So it's about kind of having a different, you know, a big range of accents, a big variety of accents.
Okay.
So one question, can you actually differ all of the accent from each other? Like, can you recognize and like each of them, like which part of England are they from?
Yeah, so for most of them you can. And Game of Thrones is a really interesting one in that you have mostly British actors, but some of them aren't.
Really?
But they're all. So
I want to know who.
So Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion, Tyrion Lannister, he is American. But he puts on an English accent.
I know Lannister.
Yes.
Lannister is the legend of this show, basically. I think there's
all Sam.
more badass than him in the whole show.
Exactly. We all love.
I know him. I know Lannister.
Shame on you.
But even with the British actors, some of them put on different accents, because you know their normal accent, you know, as an everyday person, is different to the one that the character should have. So you have lots of people playing different accents, and sometimes it can sound a bit strange because you know you can hear a word, you think, oh, that shouldn't sound like that. But for the most part, you can understand the general, where the character is meant to be from. But yeah, there are difficulties. Like with Tyrion Lannister, the actor is American, but he plays a very posh British accent. So yeah, it's a difficult one. It is very difficult at times.
Do you think, because what I heard about, like, because I like to, even though I haven't seen the show, but I like to always make research about the actors and everything. What I heard is that they actually go through like accent schools, like with tutors and like a lot of instructors to teach them to actually pick up that specific accent.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think like picking up an accent is really important, because once you pick up that accent, you cannot go to another accent. Like, it's super hard. Like, for me, basically, even me, I actually picked up a various of accent between Australian and British. But for me, it's also the same. I cannot use an American accent anymore. Like, for me, it's impossible to say some of the words, especially those words who are overly emphasized in British and Australian.
Yeah.
I cannot say them in American accent.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, like, is it easy, like, for you as a British person to pick up another accent?
Oh, what a great question. I think the short answer is no, in the sense that, well, if you were learning a dance, you would have a teacher. If you were, learning a fight on camera, you would have a teacher. And it's the same for an accent. If you're learning an accent, you would have a teacher.
Definitely.
So
yeah, we have the same thing here. Like Italians have what we call dizione. Actors have that. So you need to have like the perfect accent to like act.
Yeah, and there's a lot of humor in Britain that's based on taking the mickey out of accents, kind of playing fun on accents. So they'll make fun of people with a certain accent from a certain area. So some accents are really famous in Britain, either because they sound a certain way, or they sound funny or silly, or they're just really common. So some accents are slightly easier than others, but it is still very difficult to pick them up.
What is the funniest accent in the show? Like the weirdest accent.
I think there is some. Yeah, I think there's some great accents from the north of England. So you have ones from Liverpool, and I'm going to completely embarrass myself now by trying to do these accents. But they speak like this with a lot of So they speak like that, which is quite funny. And then you have people from Newcastle, which is in the north of England, the northeast, and they kind of speak like this. So there's a lot of going up and down. So it's a bit like Wales too.
It's really similar to Irish. So the more they go to Irish.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I live with 2 Irish and Scottish people. Still no idea what they're saying. Like, no idea. Like, because they make a lot of tones, the melody, it changes a lot. You have to be like a native to understand those.
And even then, I mean, I still struggle sometimes to understand, particularly Scottish accents can be really difficult to understand. So certain, like, if you're using a program like this to learn English, then don't worry that you can't understand it all, because there will be native speakers who struggle to understand it too. Some of them are really difficult.
In the show that I don't know whether she's from the UK or the US. Her name in the show is Cersei or something. She talks really slowly and like more to me that I am like Italian.
Yeah,
I understand it more. So then I thought, is she from the UK? I don't know. To be honest,
So Cersei Lannister is played by an actress called Lena Headey, who is a British actress, and she's from London. But we don't hear, there's a kind of a traditional Cockney accent from London, and that isn't what we hear from her. We hear a more, it's called RP, or received pronunciation. So it's a sort of thing you might hear people on the news say. So when they're reading the news formally, it's quite a formal, slow, clear, understandable accent. So either people on the news, but also the royal family. And that's really interesting when we think that Cersei, especially at the beginning, has ambitions to be the queen. So when we're talking about, accents,
is a woman who sleeps with the brother, right?
The woman who sleeps. A lot of women slept with a lot of brothers in the show. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I remember because it was like the only episode that I watched from the beginning.
Yeah, she was talking about the first episode with that. They were like a family of some.
Yeah. But it's interesting that she uses that. The character has that accent, because it shows not only does she want to be the queen, but also it is a really clear, easy to understand accent, because it was what was used by newsreaders in the olden days to kind of so that everyone could understand.
Okay.
So basically, let's go. I ask you, Greg, first. Who are your top 5 favorite characters in the show?
Oh, what a great one. I'll try and do it without any spoilers.
Exactly.
I love Jon Snow, obviously.
Okay.
Jon Snow is
Obviously.
great. I love Ned Stark, who is the king in the north, who has a great accent.
Is he the blonde?
Brown-haired.
Okay.
But he's from Yorkshire, so he talks a bit like this, and it's all funny. And Cersei, I think Cersei is great, very scheming, very cunning, and really easy to understand as well. Tyrion, we talked about, I love him. I think he's hilarious, really funny. And one more. Oh, I can't think of any more. Who is there?
That's like, just use my first character, the most favorable character in my idea for the top 10. I think should be Khaleesi, because I think there's nobody hotter than her in the show.
She is great. Well, here's a funny story.
There's a lot of her in the show.
About subtitles. So Khaleesi speaks. It's a made-up language. I can't remember what it is. It Dothraki or High Valyrian? There's a made-up language for the show. And the site I was watching on didn't have subtitles. So for the first 5 series that I watched it, I just thought you were meant to like make up what was happening and guess what was happening. So maybe if you do need subtitles, it might be a good idea to try and put them on, because I didn't understand anything that was going on for 5 series in those scenes.
Okay, aside from the Game of Thrones, what is another like TV series British that you suggest?
Oh, British. I think there are some great kind of police or crime dramas, which are really good. So things like maybe Sherlock Holmes is a really good one.
The new one with Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
Exactly, it's a great one.
I think that show was really great. Yeah.
He's really clear to understand, but also there's a lot of different characters in there and a lot of different accents. So another one that's a great one for exposing yourself. I'm trying to think of other British series.
Peaky Blinders, you like Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders, again, a great one. But they have, or the majority of them have accents from Birmingham. So that's in the Midlands, in the middle of England. So they speak a bit like this, and it can sometimes be quite difficult to understand. I'm awful with these accents. So,
they have really pretty strong accents.
Yeah. So there's some from Birmingham and some from Ireland as well in Peaky Blinders. So again, it's a great one for kind of exposing yourself to that and seeing something different. Because I think when you're learning English, a lot of the stuff out there is American. You know, things like Friends comes to mind straight away.
Yes, of course.
Which is great for learning English. But if you really want to expose yourself to kind of British accents, there's a lot of TV shows, especially on Netflix and things like that. There's a lot of shows out there which would be great for kind of giving you a challenge and giving you something different.
And what I think from an Italian point of view, when I hear British people talking, they talk like really fast. So to me, it was sometimes it's hard to talk with British people because they talk really fast, and I always have to tell them, "Could you please speak slower?" So what I want you to tell to our viewers is that what to do in this situation, like when someone doesn't understand what someone is saying, some British or native speaker is saying, not to feel embarrassed or anything, like you can stop them, or what do you have to say, like please sir. So that's the tip that I want to give to the viewers. And I don't know, I think it's we are in Italy, we don't have American shows. Like we have voiceover, so we don't really like learn a lot of English. So right now with Netflix and etc., it's really better for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, aside from that, thank you so much for joining the show.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
Any tips to help our Italian students here, please do share.
I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to ask someone, if you're in a conversation with someone, don't be afraid to ask someone to slow down. Just say like, excuse me, could you repeat that a bit slower? Or could you say that again more slowly? Just something, I think British people are very conscious of speaking fast. And actually most people will try and slow down. They might not be aware of it at the start, but actually if you ask them that, we'll happily slow down and repeat ourselves. Because we know that some of our accents are very difficult to understand.
What are the most difficult to understand, like from London or Manchester?
Yeah, so I think the most difficult to understand is probably Scottish. If you come across a thick Scottish accent, I think is really challenging. And actually, a lot of native speakers would have to ask them to repeat themselves or even write it down because we just wouldn't understand the accent. So definitely don't be afraid to ask people to repeat things or slow things down, because the only way you learn new things is by asking those questions.
Exactly.
So definitely don't be afraid, but do try and expose yourself to these accents as much as possible. I hope it's been useful listening to a British person speak, and especially given that I'm not from London, maybe I have a slightly different accent to one that you're used to. Maybe you can tell. I don't know.
I can tell.
No.
Of course,
I've got some friends from Wales, and yes, obviously, it's different. Like, I think Wales people, like the Wales accent is much more stronger than your accent, because your accent is pretty easy. It's like it's understandable. It's not really heavy, or it's not really strong.
Yeah,
you got the normal basics in the accent of English, but not as strong as like Wales or like northern people.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm from Manchester, so in the north, and I probably have, my accent isn't as heavy as some, but if you're understanding some of what I say, then you're understanding a different accent to what you might have been exposed to in the past. So I think to the viewers out there, I'm sure you're doing a much better job of understanding those accents than you think already. So great work.
Okay.
And what about books? Do you think that the book can help?
100%. And there are so many different strategies when it comes to books. Some people like to, just skip it all and, just understand the majority of what's going on. Some people like to stop at every word they don't understand and look it up. I personally, when I'm learning a language, I will underline any word I don't understand and then look them up at the end of a chapter and then reread it later.
Because you speak Italian? I know.
Spanish and a little bit of
Parla un po' italiano, parli benissimo con un accento
io dica in italiano. Per tutti gli ascoltatori, ciao a tutti, eccomi parlando italiano.
Io adoro come parli italiano.
Devo ancora migliorare il mio accento italiano, però.
Parli benissimo.
Grazie.
E un giorno faremo parlare benissimo anche Sam.
Ok, I heard anche Sam.
Certo.
Perché Sam adesso capisce, penso, quando noi parliamo con Sam, lui capisce.
Io capisco quasi tutto, ma
non ti ho mai sentito parlare in italiano.
Bravo Sam, bravissimo.
Grazie.
È sempre più buia comunque, veramente. Non ci avevo fatto caso. Comunque non avevo mai sentito parlare Sam in italiano. E voglio dare un po' di consigli, appunto dicevo ai nostri amici italiani. Come avete ben potuto notare, io non ho un inglese perfetto e non
quasi perfetto.
Dai, non è vero? Mi butto e la cosa sicuramente migliore, perché io sono stata anche in Spagna, e la cosa sicuramente migliore è stare nel posto. Capisco che poi chi non può andare a viaggiare e non può stare 1 mese, 2 mesi, 3 mesi a Londra, debba guardare serie TV, ascoltate, Grazie mille per aver partecipato, veramente è stato un piacere averti. Guarderemo io e Sam Game of Thrones insieme.
Sì.
Right, Sam? We
Lo
will
dovete
watch Game
fare.
of Thrones.
Guardatelo,
Of course we will. Of course we will.
I think our people on the backstage put this on a loop. Like, shame on you, Sam. All
Grazie
right.
a tutti per aver partecipato.
Thank you so much, Greg, for being our special guest this week.
Thank you for having me.
Like to what about you doing? And you have a great day and a great Monday. Today's Monday, actually. I'm still on the Friday time because we Fridays. So I wanted to say have a great weekend, but have a great week.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today, as always.
Grazie ragazzi. Ci vediamo settimana prossima, lunedì, sempre alla stessa ora, e avremo un topic molto speciale che vi aiuterà a migliorare il vostro inglese, quindi non mancate. Ciao! Ciao ragazzi!
Ciao!
Bye!
Ciao.
Okay.